everybody. My name is Sandra. I have an organization called Divas for Christ. My organization, along with Occupy Albany, has gotten together and decided that we wanted to hear what our community is saying so that we can find a way that we can work along with the community to better our communities. We have a couple of rules we would like to start with. We want to hear from you. So there's a lot of people here, so we're giving everyone 3 to 5 minutes to voice whatever your concern is. Maybe the organization, anyone here from an organization that would like to tell us a little bit about what you're doing? I know Mamas is here. Would you like to start with us?
That's what God does to me. You know, I like to do what I do from the background, from a quiet place, but God always somehow puts me out front. My brother was just telling me outside about his words were the explosion he had at the police press conference in the wake of the young man's death in the police shooting. And I really wanted to be in the background and not say anything, but God called on me to speak out and ask for order. So I'm glad that you set some ground rules for order, because we should always be wanting to move in an orderly fashion to allow everybody their opportunities. So I took up 2 of my minutes with that. So I'm going to
It starts now.
Okay. I am Corey Terry. I am first and foremost a mother. I have an 18-year-old son that I'm raising in this urban setting, and that as an African American mother, I can tell you that's not the easiest of things to be able to do, and not see your child go through some of the things that we see young men do. I'm grateful that he has no police contact, but I know that that is not the norm. So what my dream is that what has become the norm is no longer the norm for our young people here in the city of Albany. That it's no longer normal for you to wear your pants hanging down. It's no longer normal that you engage in drugs and criminal activity. That it is no longer normal that you have police contact or end up in the prison system.
Now we want to hear from you. Who do we have first on the list?
So, first up is Megan.
Megan?
I rented in Albany for 14 years. I have a daughter in Albany Public Schools. She goes to Delaware. She's a first grader. One of my concerns for coming here today is to making sure that our Albany Public Schools gets funding. I know the governor's tax cuts, $1.4 million tax cut, and from the information on the Albany district website indicates that Albany schools may not get their fair share of the funding. Out of the 4-county Albany area, only 3 other schools, we're on the bottom of the list. Only 3 other school districts are going to get less funding than Albany Public Schools.
Okay. I'm Mark Dudley, and I'm with the Hunger Action Network in New York State. We have our office across the street on Emmanuel Baptist Church. We're actually, unfortunately, observing our 30th anniversary this year. If you told us 30 years ago we would still be here, we would have told you we had failed. Basically, we represent the 3,000 food pantries and soup kitchens in New York State. We feed about 3 million people on an annual basis. Right here in this church, on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, focused breakfast program serves around 120 to 150 people. Our big issue this year for Hunger Action Network, we're really sort of an advocacy group trying to deal with the root causes of hunger. We do some direct service in terms of, we run a food processing business in Schenectady, and we provide meals and some Head Start programs, and we set up in New York City, some low-income community-supported agriculture programs so that people can use food stamps to participate in CSAs. We do a lot of work in single-parent health care. But our advocacy this year is focused on the issue of income inequality.
I have a concern and a dream that is somewhat long view, but not that far away, which has to do with us getting closer and closer to probable collapse of the way our economic system globally has been working. We're going to run out of fossil fuels. Already we're seeing that the big financial system, Wall Street, the big corporations, don't care if they trash our planet. And they're taking as much from us as they possibly can before we crash, and they don't care how bad it gets for all of us when we crash. I would like to see our local community and local communities everywhere strengthening our economies, doing as much for ourselves as possible, not putting our resources into what the extraction machines of the companies of the 1%. When we spend our money at Walmart, when we spend our money at McDonald's, when we use our credit cards, that money never comes back here. Most of it doesn't. And I would like to see us really working together as much as possible and creating jobs and building skills among the people who are here so that we've got what we need and they can't keep taking more and more from us.
That we stand in solidarity with each other, that there's mutual aid in our communities, that we come together across our differences, not to agree with every single nuanced thing, but to say, I'm not going to turn my back on you. I see what you're going through, I need to see what I'm going through. We need to not turn our backs on each other anymore. That's what I see happening in my community. In terms of the police, straight up, if we're going to have police, which I would like to see in terms of the police issue, because it's come up several times, that we get to know each other in our communities to the extent that we are talking to our young people, whether that's my child or not, that this is a neighborhood, this is a community, this is not a police state.
That's right.
And when it comes to shooting our young people, especially black and brown people, it's the police many, many times. I'm sick of the violence in the communities. I think if we can try to come together again through mutual aid and cooperation and solidarity, I see you, do you see me?
One of the things that I found is that when you come from broken homes and you come from the system, like group homes and stuff like that, there really isn't anyone there to really help you out and stuff. Once you get a certain age, they just kick you out and that's it. And you don't have like a father figure. Your dad could be an alcoholic. You don't have anything to do with your parents since they lost their rights or something like that. And also you have your mother that could be with someone that's really not appropriate to be with child molester. So what I find today is that there needs to be more programs out there for people that have gone through homes like that, and people that are going to be there for you. And what really is bad is that the system keeps going and going. So pretty much the fact that you don't have anyone there for you, you end up repeating the cycle.
Well, we're speaking on behalf of READY. READY stands for Re-Educating Albany's Dying Youth. And we got the word READY because that was Cream Moore. That was his nickname, the one that was killed from the police brutality incident 6 weeks prior. So we're sitting here to be advocates for the youth, So what we're here is just to, bring that bridging gap. Like we did a march last week just to show people that we're turning something negative into something positive. That that people are out here, being positive and productive. We're not just saying F the police and this and that. We're just showing accountability on both ends. That accountability starts with us. And that we need accountability from the city of police and, everyone else too, So that's what we're doing. We're just working together as a team. You know, me and Shaquan, we volunteer. You know, we break up fights. We encourage kids. We try to get kids out the streets, and you know, show them positive reinforcement. You know, things like that, and show people, you know, that you need to know your rights, and you know how to conduct yourself if you're stopped by the cops, and you know, try to teach them about the prison system so they don't get caught up in that mess. And I'll let Shaquan speak to it.
Awesome.
We're just doing our best just to be, you know, a positive influence in our communities. You know, I do my best to lead by example with all my younger brothers and sisters. You know, like when we did the march, what touched me the most was to see all the people that came out. Like some of the dudes that were, you know, Nate Cream's friends that I grew up with. You know, they were just on the block, just sitting there chilling, smoking and stuff. And they actually came out and they were for unity and for peace and for justice and for equality. And just to see them crying and chanting with us, that meant a lot to me, you know. But one of them had my signs was a scripture, you know. It says, if my people should humble themselves and seek them face, God will hear the land. That's what this march was about. It was about really changing what they said. Because there's so many other things that they say about us. So we just stand here just to show people that there are young people out here that are taking the initiative and making action and doing things. Like we're going to have talent shows to showcase people, positive talents, and put people in a positive light, because all you see is, oh, they're fighting again, here's another shooting again, here's another stabbing again. And we just want to show people that we can stick together and that we are doing things. And we just love everyone for coming out here. We want to thank the people that came out last week to support us, because it's about like what you said, we have a lot of like-minded ideas and goals, and we talk and converse, you know, with other people that are in the room. You know, we all want to fight against equality, and we're just doing this too, just to show a lot of people in the urban community a political awareness of those who have power, you know, who those who have our rights, and they're trying to strip the, you know, Constitution and rights away from us. And we want them to know that all this hood stuff got to go now. Now you got to understand who are trying to strip our rights away from us. So that's what we're trying to do.
Love nobody else unless you love yourself first.
That's right.
And we have people coming up here talking about different situations, from molestation or problems with authority, and just the fact that he's doing his movement, but at the same time we all have to live in harmony and unity, which we want, and support each other. It's not just about letting people just go off and do their own thing, because a lot of the situation, this is why they want to speak.
Take your time. Take your time.
Take a breath.
I'm just saying that there's a lot of different problems here, and that we're addressing them, and that the actions that each problem has behind it to solve that problem, we all still need to support as one.
That's right. No question. That's right.
For a long time, and I wanted to hear the people who live here now and what it's like for them. Because I remember when there were homeless people and hungry people in the street, where the schools were not getting enough funding, and we didn't get the education that we needed. I remember when police brutality and incidences where police shot people, and I can see it hasn't changed much since I left. And that's the saddest thing that I had to listen today that makes me so angry. There's a part of me that thinks that maybe there's a few young people out there I've had a good influence on, so maybe I've made a little bit of change over the years. But when I look and see the suffering in the city, and I think of what I was like when I was your age, and that nothing's different. It can't continue. It cannot be passed on to another generation.